afternoon. Can everyone hear me? I'm not used to using a microphone. Normally my voice carries, I guess so.
We need you to use the microphone.
All right, I'll use the microphone. All right. The student organizers of this program have done a great job putting together this panel. We have a very experienced and varied panel this afternoon. We have a venture capitalist who has done a great deal of work in China. We have an American entrepreneur who has operations in China. And we have an attorney, the managing partner of the Beijing office of an international law firm, and he has some 24 years experience operating in China. But before I introduce the panel, I want to say a few words about MIT and what we at MIT are all about in this world of innovation and entrepreneurship. The year 2011 is a very important year in the history of MIT. It's our 150th birthday. We were founded back in 1861 by an individual by the name of William Barton Rogers. And if you care to go over to the MIT Dome building, which is, I don't know, probably 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet over that way, and walk the halls of that building, the Infinite Corridor, you will see a number of paintings of William Barton Rogers. And you look at these paintings, and he appears to be a very stern, cold, really very traditional and imposing and distant-looking man. In fact, he was anything but that. He actually was a very radical thinker for his time in the 1860s. He created MIT to be a mechanism of discovery and innovation. And even in those early years, the very first years of MIT, he had MIT professors teaching things like science and engineering. And this was a time when American institutions of higher learning had their students studying Latin and memorizing Greek and doing things like that. He created the motto of MIT, translated from the Latin, mind and hand. Create things with the mind and make them very practical. Turn them into practical things that you can use with the hand. Very practical education. Rogers is credited by many with helping to unlock America's potential and turn it into the industrial powerhouse that it became over the next 150 years. With MIT, some people say he gave America and the world an innovation machine. But really, what he did was just to plant the seeds. It took decades to develop all of this to its maturity. Now, as a result of all of this innovation that began taking place at MIT, a real entrepreneurial world developed at MIT. Companies were created to take advantage of and to commercialize all of these innovative ideas that bubbled up around here. And today, two of the things that we at MIT are most proud of are our Entrepreneurship Center, or E-Center, as we call it, and this entrepreneurial ecosystem that has developed here in Cambridge, Boston, Eastern Massachusetts. A word about the E-Center, or Entrepreneurship Center. It really acts as the bridge between the engineering, the biotech, the innovation side of MIT, which is on the west end of the campus, all of the great engineering schools. It acts as a bridge between that and the Sloan School of Management, the business school down at the east end of the campus. And you need both. You need those innovative ideas, and then you need the management capability and expertise to commercialize those ideas. The job of the E-Center is to bridge these two parts of the campus. The second thing that we're so proud of is this entrepreneurial ecoculture. And you might be saying, well, you know, what is this ecoculture? What's Peter referring to? Well, there are a lot of things that are a part of it. It's the great MIT engineering schools. It's the MIT Technology Licensing Office. It's the annual 100K entrepreneurship competition. It's the Mass Challenge startup competition that happens each year. It's the MIT Enterprise Forum, which has chapters in countries all around the world promoting entrepreneurship. It's the network of angel investors, venture capitalists, consultants. It's the Cambridge Innovation Center, which is a building about 1,000 feet behind me, 6 floors of which house over 400 startup companies. So this development of this innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem didn't happen overnight. It took decades to really develop. Now, one question that's been brought up: what is the entrepreneurial impact of MIT on the world? And several years ago, one of our distinguished Sloan professors, Ed Roberts, did a study on this. And this thick study can be summarized really in just a few key figures. Today, there are 26,000 companies that have been started by MIT graduates. They employ 3.3 million people. If you added up the sales, the annual sales of all of these companies, it would be somewhere around $2 trillion. If all these MIT-founded companies were to form an independent nation, the economy of that nation would be the 17th largest in the world. This is what innovation and entrepreneurship can do. And this is why we here at MIT have people coming from all over the world, all over this country, all over the world, to see what makes it work. How do we do it? How can we replicate this so we can get results like Ed found in his report? And I should say this tradition continues. The MIT Sloan MBA class of 2010, as of current day, has already started 33 companies, 7 of which are based on MIT-developed technology. Another interesting fact, Kendall Square, which is 1,000 feet behind me, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was an industrial wasteland. That's how I like to describe it. There was a great big power plant there. There were old deserted factories from better days. It's all been rebuilt. And today, Kendall Square has the highest number of biotech and information technology companies per square mile of anywhere in the country, perhaps the world. This is what we're all about at MIT: innovation and entrepreneurship. What I'd like to do now is to introduce our panelists, and each panelist is going to spend a few minutes, as long as they want, giving a little background, their background, and a little perspective on entrepreneurship in Asia. Then I have some questions to throw out to the panel that we'll discuss, and then we want to open it up for questions from the audience. So we answer the questions that you really have on your mind. So I'd like to introduce Allan first. Allan Kwan, who was in the last panel. He's a popular guy, and he is a venture partner at Oak Investment Partners. Allan.
Thank you. It's great to be back to MIT. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, so this has always been my dream house when I was trying to go to higher studies. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to come here. I went to Philadelphia instead. So I spent 25 years in the tech industry, and first 10 years in Nortel, doing everything from manufacturing engineering to telco marketing, product introduction, and international M&A, and so on. And then I moved over to Motorola and ran the paging business in Greater China back in the mid-90s. I'm sure some of you still old enough to use pagers before. That's been a hit product until the cell phone came along. And then I joined a startup before it went defunct during the bubble. Then I joined Yahoo for 6 years, ran the North Asia operations. So I've gone from telecom to wireless to internet over the last 25 years before I joined Oak as a partner in Asia. And so I've seen a lot of the kind of the growth from applications of technology, from everything from enterprise to consumer applications. And it's been an interesting ride to see that, especially in China, since the early 90s to today. So what I'm going to do is, we're not going to have a lot of time, so I'm going to share with you some of the perspectives and some of the companies that we have invested in and how they've applied some of the unique innovation in a marketplace where you just can't apply a Western model all the time in China. So a quickly introduction to our fund. Not too many people know about us, but we've been around for 33 years. This is our 13th institutional fund. We generally run about $1 to $2 billion of fund in the last few years. And we funded about almost 500 companies with $9 billion committed capital. 87 companies still active today, and actually we're probably one of the few firms that have the highest number of companies with $100 million revenue. 25 of them, and some of them you may recognize. Kayak's one of them actually, and Demand Media is another one that's already fallen above the $100 million threshold. So a lot of these internet companies that you've seen, you probably recognize. Huffington Post, we sold it to AOL recently, and Reardon Commerce is a service B2B commerce player, and Kayak, I'm sure some of you are using it for your travel planning many of your days as a college student. Some of the challenges for Chinese entrepreneur, I want to move quickly, is really, business model fits, right? What's East and what's West, and how do you actually apply some of these business models in China? And I just want to kind of use one company in our portfolio as an example to highlight some of the differences. So most of you guys use cell phones, and actually most of the cell phone today, probably 90% of it in China is all prepaid cards, right? And the way you top up your cell phone today is that you go to a AT&T store or Verizon store, you actually put your credit card in and they print out a slip and they actually enter your PIN number into your phone and you top up your minutes. In China, obviously you're not going to have a lot of terminals around the second and third tier cities. So we're talking about the kind of mid-market to the low-end market, many the non-central city, the center city type of rural areas. And so this company called Lian Pay, he actually looked at how do we reach out to all these consumers trying to top up these minutes with a cell phone, which now is going to approach probably 900 million and above. And most of the transactions done in cash in China. Right now, it's probably 65% still, all the transactions and consumer spending is still done by cash. So what this company does is that they actually have agents in all these small places, where there's a mom and pop store, cigarette stands, newspaper stands, and they will use their cell phone, which is tied to their company system, and that the back end is tied to China Mobile as a start in the billing system. So whenever if any consumer wants to top up their cell phone, they actually walk up to the agent and they'll hand over a physical $100 RMB bill. And the agent will actually type in their phone, the buyer's phone number into their phone. And when the phone gets transmitted to the system, the billing system will automatically send 100 RMB credit to the buyer. So all this process does not use any of the scratch cards, does not use any of the printed slips. All it is just cell phone application across all the agents. And right now, they've built a network. This chart is a little bit old, but they built a network of almost 900,000 agents across 15 provinces in China. And so this is everything from small stores selling cigarettes to the big 3C stores selling computer cameras and communication equipment, as well as China Mobile, China Telecom, and China Unicom outlets. And so this is a model that actually uses, really looks at the whole mobile applications in China and the mobile usages in China, and trying to find a way to actually convert the payment system. So right now, this is probably the biggest network actually converts physical cash to digital cash. You think of it, you're actually putting money in to somebody's pocket, but then you're showing up as digital credit on your cell phone. So how this company is actually evolving in the future is that they're actually now going into collecting lotto tickets. People that want to buy lotto tickets, people that want to buy online game cards, they actually pay cash, and they'll send the credits over to the specific vendor that's actually providing the service. And many of the e-commerce players uses this firm because, for example, many of the college students in China, they have no bank accounts. So when they're actually studying, they move from Anhui to Beijing, they study in Beijing University, and they have just a bunch of cash in their pockets. So what they do is they actually go into Lian, put in 200 RMB, and they will credit their Alipay account or Taobao account. And they will use that credit to go and buy online all the small, anywhere up to 200 or 300 RMB of goods and services on that account, which is a escrow service developed by Alibaba. So some of the stores in the network, including everything from the rural convenience store, to some of the urban convenience stores that sells everything from cell phones to iPhone cases and so on, and as well as some of the mobile outlets, China Mobile and China Telecom, the equivalent of Verizon and AT&T here in the U.S. And going beyond that, using the same example to highlight what are some of the challenges for some of the entrepreneurs. You think you can build a product and service and trying to roll up to all across China, right? And U.S. being a market being very homogeneous, you can probably do that. But in China, it's all about provincial boundaries and really regional fiefs. So why is it so many companies cannot cross those provincial borders to become a real big-scale company across the entire Chinese territory? Is because every local fief have the way of doing business. So Lianlian Pay, when they want to connect their system to the backdoor, the billing system of China Mobile, they have to connect to each provincial China Mobile, right? And to do that, they have to go to essentially 9 departments. Everything from marketing to legal to product development to sales and so on, and they have to get 15 signatures, right? So think of that whole process to get approval from China Mobile to get your system and process to be connected to the billing system, right? And that barrier to entry is non-tariff barrier. Right? Anybody can come in and try to do this, but if you don't have the relationships day in and day out, if you don't have the proven product and services that can actually build this network and show that you're actually helping them to make money, because in the old days when you do scratch cards, the cost of the scratch cards in terms of damages and pilferage, everything could be as much as 10% of the face value of the scratch card. Right? Because a lot of times these little tiny department stores or these tiny grocery stores in the corner, they stock 100 of these smart cards, and a flood can wipe out the entire lot, right? Or somebody can go into the store at night and steal the entire lot. So with this mobile application, you actually have no physical paperwork that actually, or physical cards that's for any damages, and that essentially it reduces the entire cost structure of China Mobile trying to sell these prepaid cards from everything from as much as 10% down to 2%, where they're paying the commission for these applications. So regional differences can actually create barriers to entry for many of these products and services trying to roll out across China for some of the innovative products. And other things like people, management team, and when they were growing in a big way, how does the management team actually can transition to a scalable, much larger company in future years as they develop some of these products and services is also a challenge. Is letting go, and I'm sure you see many entrepreneurs in the U.S. that can't let go, let alone in China, who's trying to, that's the only platform they've ever done in their lives, and trying to hand that power over to somebody else, as a professional manager, has always been very, very tough for many of these entrepreneurs. So I want to keep it short, so any questions we have, we can discuss it later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allan. And next, I'd like to introduce Bob DiMatteo, who is an American entrepreneur who has had extensive experience in China and has an operation in China. Bob.